Welcome, everybody. My name is Kevin Showalter, and as always, my co-host Jared Booker. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. It's an some exciting happenings in the draft to follow and
It
talk
is.
about.
It is. It is. Can't wait to dive into all of it. So we are on episode 30, and this is the Sideline Podcast. We love football, fantasy football, all things sports. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and TikTok at the TSP Community. That is at the TSP Community. On this episode, we are going to be talking draft updates. We are going to preview a 5-part Campus2Canton series we have coming out on why you should play Campus2Canton football. Excuse me. And yeah, we're going to react some more to the NFL drafts, might touch a little bit NHL, NBA playoffs, but let's be honest. Let's dive right in. Those of you who have been following along for a while, we are not going to do trivia this week, but we typically will do trivia, and it's a fun way to start, but not this week. So without further ado, I think the story, no matter when you're listening to this, and this is pre-recorded, but Shedeur Sanders has kind of taken over the world, the NHL world as well, or not. Sorry, not the NHL world. Shedeur Sanders. What I was going to say is the NFL draft has taken over. Like last night, I even forgot that there was NHL and NBA playoffs happening because I was like, oh, there's just so much going on with this draft. So, yeah, Shedeur Sanders, as we were kind of prepping for the show, he got drafted by the Cleveland Browns. What are your thoughts, man? Let's just dive right into that. Shedeur Sanders, Cleveland Browns, fell in the draft. Mel Kiper is probably working on that resume for Indeed, ZipRecruiter. He's going to be probably looking for a job because if you turn on ESPN, he's probably going off on some rant about how everybody else was wrong. So I think it's interesting. I'll say one more thing, and then I'll let you chip in here. It's an interesting move to take Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round and then draft Shedeur in the 5th. And so whether he should have gone earlier or not, I think that's a bold strategy. Obviously, when the Redskins, now the Commanders, did it a couple years ago with RG3 and Kirk Cousins, you took the highly touted quarterback in the 1st round and then sort of, hey, let's take a flyer in the late. To take 2 flyer quarterbacks along with Joe Flacco, along with Kenny Pickett, along with Deshaun Watson, just feels like a mess. So yeah, any thoughts on that Cleveland Browns situation?
I don't know. Since I've been alive, and probably Cleveland Brown fans can say the same thing. It just seems like that organization has just been a hot mess for a hot minute. And specifically at the quarterback position. And so I'm actually interacting with a gentleman on X about he actually thinks it was a pretty smart pick for them to get Gabriel in the 3rd and Shedeur in the 5th. And I just think that, that they owe a lot of money to a lot of guys that aren't even going to be contributors on that offense. And then I don't know if I'd put Shedeur as necessarily a flyer, but the fact that he was drafted in the 5th round, that's kind of more where you would a position where you'd say this is a flyer. I feel like Dillon Gabriel might be more of a flyer, and I'm not sure, how that's going to work itself out. But they have 5 quarterbacks sitting over there, ranging from, I don't know how old or how young Shedeur is, but Flacco's like Deion Sanders' age. So you got quite the quarterback room over there.
Yeah. Well, I think the draft capital matters. And so to me, it means Dillon Gabriel gets first crack at the starting job. Now, really, it's going to be Flacco or Kenny Pickett, most likely. And they do have the extra, you can do the emergency quarterback. So maybe one of these two is their emergency quarterback sort of on a practice squad to develop. But just a bizarre, I do think it's smart to, hey, let's get multiple quarterbacks in the building, but these personality mix, it just feels like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting. I honestly
Go ahead.
like my thoughts at this point in the draft, the fifth round is currently going on. I was thinking he was going to go to like a Kansas City or a Buffalo or somewhere where there's like a no doubter starting quarterback who, like, we don't care who we bring in, like they're not taking over Josh Allen or Mahomes' job. I honestly think that would have been a great fit for him with either of those guys to say like, hey, you are clearly the backup. Your personality, your stardom is not going to usurp these guys. And I think both of those guys or a couple other quarterbacks in the league where I think that wouldn't have been an issue, where this just feels like a mess and just the Cleveland Browns doing Cleveland Browns stuff. And so I don't know, man. And honestly, you just feel bad for the dog pound. They're such loyal fans, and once again, they just can't seem to get out of their own way when it comes to making decisions. And so,
how much of this do you think is Shedeur is still on the board in the fifth round? And he was, I mean, Kuiper had him second overall? I know, or at least a first rounder, or so many people had him a first rounder. How much of this is like, okay, this guy is a potential first rounder. He bombed out some interviews and he's pretty entitled and he's probably going to be a challenging personality to manage on a team and in a locker room, but he has so much value. We're just going to take him under our wing, and then maybe we trade, like we see how things play out, and then the draft capital, I don't know, like just bang for your buck. How much of that is what Cleveland's thinking?
No, definitely. I mean, if you can get like, even if you say he's a second or third round graded player, if you can get a second or third round graded player in the fifth round, like that's smart for all 32 teams, no matter who your quarterback is. That's just a smart decision. If he doesn't take the starting job, then trade him to a hungry team. I wouldn't be shocked if Cleveland went out and traded for Joe Milton after the draft, because that feels like they're just throwing darts, hoping something sticks. And hey, if Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur ends up being a franchise guy, they're going to look brilliant. But right now, if you're a Cleveland fan, you've got to be just spinning your head with what on earth are they doing? So, yeah, I think the other thought I had on that, kind of Shedeur, kind of back to the Steelers, because he was obviously mocked to go there as well. As of this moment, I'm just pulling open the draft board. The Steelers have not drafted a quarterback. And I posted on X earlier that this, to me, they feel really good that Aaron Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh, because no matter how you feel about these quarterbacks, we're talking a fourth or a fifth round pick. Like that's a low investment, in both in dollar and in, you're not saying a fourth or fifth rounder's coming in and going to be your franchise guy. You're saying, hey, this guy has a measure of talent. And so to still not have a quarterback and going to just ride it out with Mason Rudolph, that to me says, hey, Aaron Rodgers is going to Pittsburgh. They just haven't announced it yet. Which when he came out and said he would play for $10 million, I'm like, oh, he's a Steeler. Like, this is going to happen. It's just happening on his own timeline. I don't think it was any like, hey, if you draft a quarterback, I'm not coming there. But I think they feel comfortable enough that he is going to sign, because you can't just go into the season with Mason Rudolph as your only option when there's, these aren't Andrew Luck level prospects, but these are good. I mean, they're decent. Like Dylan Gabriel is a good developmental prospect. Like, bring him in. Shedeur Sanders, like Will Howard. There's a lot of like quality developmental guys. They're not bona fide franchise changing quarterbacks, but if you're a quarterback needy team, it feels like you would have taken one by now. So that to me means the Steelers are taking a quarterback. So let's I kind of mentioned it already, but again, NFL is king. Sorry, NHL, NBA, we will resume following along after this draft is over. But I was cracking up last night at LeBron James. And it was a great game. I actually watched the last 5 minutes. The T-Wolves pulled away late, but there's some great NHL and NBA playoff action happening. Unfortunately, where Shedeur Sanders is going to go, and Mel Kiper losing his mind has taken over the sports world. So starting again this week, we will definitely be back on the NHL and NBA train. Let's just dive into this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go through rounds 1, 2, and 3. And if you want to pull open our graphic, so we are each going to take a turn and just pick a winner and a loser from each round. And so is that working out? Bear with us here. Technology. There we go. So let's start with you. Let's just do a winner at a time, and then we'll do a loser. So yeah, who is your winner from round 1? Which team or player? You could do the team or the player.
Okay. Well, I think you're probably going to. Well, I was going to take your Eagles as a winner. I do think they are a winner in this, but I'm gonna switch gears here. Jahdae Barron going to the Denver Broncos. I think that is a steal. Stud cornerback out of Texas. I think arguably the best one in the draft. And then you have Patrick Surtain on the other side in Denver. And so, one of the best in the league over the past couple of years out of the University of Alabama. And so that's going to be a shutdown, no-fly zone in Denver. And I don't know, like it's been a while since Denver's been a pretty decent team. I think they're putting some interesting pieces in place over there. So a lot to be excited about in the Mile High City.
Yeah. Looking at this, I think I'm going to go I'm torn. My two options are the Ravens and Malachi Starks, or the Colts with Tyler Warren. And it's honestly a toss-up. I'm going to go the Colts as a bigger winner, because going into this draft, they probably, in all of their scenarios, Tyler Warren falling to them at 14 was probably like not even hey, if he's there, we'll take him. But I mean, I was seeing Tyler Warren going like 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, like. So, and again, I don't know if the Bears are going to be my loser, but I was shocked. I was shocked to see Colston Loveland. I know some people were saying, hey, they were pretty close. They're 1A, 1B, but I didn't see it that way. I think Tyler Warren is an absolute monster. He's versatile. He can line him up in the backfield, down the field, in the slot. He's just heck of a player. So I'll go with Tyler Warren to the Colts. And shoot, I'm going to jump into the Ravens here too. But I think the Malachi Starks with Kyle Hamilton is a ridiculous back end of the defense. And so back to your quote from our must draft series, the Ravens are always reloading, not rebuilding. If you haven't watched Booker's video on YouTube for who the Ravens must draft, it wasn't Malachi Starks. He did nail the Buffalo one, but and we weren't even saying, hey, this is who we think they're going to take. It was just who we think they should. But yeah, your quote there of they're always reloading, not rebuilding. This is a classic. And they've made a couple, as we get into rounds 2 and 3, the Ravens are just notoriously good drafters. Like they're always bringing in guys that fit their culture, fit their system, and fit the way that they want to play football. And so I think that's a slam dunk pick. I really was hoping he would fall to 31 or 32 for the Eagles, but I'm pretty happy with Jihad Campbell to Philly as well. So let's go with a loser. Who do you got as a loser in the first round?
Honestly, it's kind of hard to pick. I see a lot of just quality picks. It was interesting to see how many we've got 3 or 4 offensive tackles taken in the first 10 picks. And so I remember taking an offensive tackle in our mock draft, and I think it was in the first 5 picks. And I was like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have done that, because I feel like that just doesn't happen often. But protecting the quarterback obviously seems like a big priority here for these teams. This is going to be a hot take, and people are probably going to hate me for it. And I'm actually kind of stealing this from you. I think the Jaguars taking Travis Hunter at 2.
Okay.
What I'm going to say is I could be so wrong, and I very
Yeah.
well may be so wrong, because he could be an absolute stud on both sides of the ball. He was at Colorado, we know that, but I do think that the NFL is just a different animal, and he's so stuck on playing both ways. Um, that I just he's a specimen. He has the stamina and fitness level. I'm sure his heart beats probably like 8 times a minute. He is a specimen. But playing both ways in the NFL against players that were at the top of their, like, the best of the best every year, I just don't see how that's possible. And I think he's so stuck on it that there's going to be a little bit of drama in that locker room surrounding, like, who's driving the bus.
Yeah.
Are we just going to cater to whatever Travis Hunter wants, or are we going to tell him, hey, you're on this team and you're a part of this team, you're going to do what we tell you to do? So I think that he's a stud player, but the off the field stuff is going to be a little bit of a distraction. So that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. It's bizarre to see how this is all going to play out. Like, obviously we already hit the Shedeur stuff pretty hard, but to me, Shedeur and Travis are going to be connected for the rest of their careers, of who made who. Was Travis Hunter a good receiver because Shedeur force fed him the ball? If Shedeur ends up being a great quarterback and Hunter flakes out as a wide receiver, then it's like, oh man, maybe people were wrong, I don't like that fit at all. I don't like the trading up to 2 for a wide receiver cornerback. I think the Jaguars, their 22-year-old general manager, was trying to make a splash, but trade up and make a splash for Abdul Carter or Will Campbell or somebody that, and again, the pitchforks might be coming for us both because we're in the minority here, I'm sure, but to me, Jacksonville is not a great fit for 5 weeks season. You're not playing both ways in that. I don't care how good of an athlete you are. Even though he is from Florida, he grew up in that heat. These are the best of the best athletes. This is 20 years of all-star teams, the best. Grown men with mortgages. Yeah, I just that's a bold take by you, but to me it's easier. I think my loser. I see more losers than winners. It's hard to. I want to go Bears because I'm like, what were you doing? Like, to me, the Bears were like, hey, we really wanted Ashton Genty. He wasn't there, so then they scrambled to like, oh crap, we got to let's take a tight end. Let's take Loveland, I guess. That's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the video with Coach Johnson. And they're hyped and they're excited, and the Bears hype train, I'm sure, is rolling out of the station already. They're gonna, win a Super Bowl this year. I don't buy it, man. So that would be the easy one. I'm actually gonna go Matthew Golden and the Packers. Now, I don't think Matthew Golden is a loser. I think the Packers are the loser because they finally took the wide receiver in the first round. They just took the wrong one, and so I'm like. Yeah, I don't think give me all the 4.29 stuff you want. There's such a history of the fastest wide receiver, the fastest 40 doesn't make the best wide receiver. And so Luther Burden going to the second round, I like, obviously Ibuka went ahead of him, but I'm like, trade up if you want to, trade up with Seattle to get Ibuka if he was, I just think, to me, Matthew Golden is another version of Watson, Christian Watson. Super fast, but is the body going to hold up? And can he get open? Can the Packers block long enough for him to get open? Again, I didn't follow him that closely at Texas, but to me, this just screams you took the wrong guy. You should have taken Luther Burden. I think Burden and Ibuka are both going to have better careers than Golden. But hey, Packers Nation was fired up to finally get a first round wide receiver. I just think they shouldn't have taken him. So
yeah.
Any other...
shout out? Sorry, go ahead.
No,
I do have a thought. I do.
Yeah,
I want to just shout out Mr. Gray Zabel going to Seattle. I am not a Seattle fan, but guard out of North Dakota State University, highly touted. Like, I don't think he was highly touted coming out of high school, but he was recruited by North Dakota State. And as he became more dominant in his college career, he had multiple Power 5 schools coming after him with lucrative NIL deals. And he was like,
Yeah.
I'm staying with this. I brought NDSU to the dance, and I'm staying with them. And there's something to be said about that. So I'm pulling for you, Gray Zabel, even if I hope Seattle never wins another game. So I don't know how those two things come together, but
That's not even the shout out I thought you were going for with Zabel. This is where I'm going with Zabel. Did you see the video of, I think it was him and the coach or the general manager of the Seahawks, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But and I wish we could pull up the video quick, but we don't have a tech department that can do that for us fast. But anyway, he's pretty much like, yeah, I got a 12-hour rule, coach. I'm about to go hammer some Busch Lights with the fam. And so it's an awesome video. I'll send it to you after the show. But
please do.
Just
probably post it on the
your stereotypical like offensive lineman, like I got 12 hours and there's a case of Busch Lights that I'm just about to take down. But yeah, I didn't know that what you had just said, so that's also very cool. You with the wise insight and me going to a case of Busch Lights. So all right, I don't think I have any other thoughts in the first round. There was some buzz leading up to the draft of would Travion Henderson be the second running back off the board. I think Amarion Hampton in Los Angeles is an excellent fit. But it's an excellent fit because they want to run the ball. It is interesting because they signed Najee. They signed him. They have Vidal from last year. So just a real stable out there. So, that is interesting, but not necessarily a winner or loser, just interesting. I hate this pick because I hate the Cowboys. But man, I was hoping Tyler Booker would go to any other team but them. I think it's a slam dunk pick. He's going to be just an awesome player. It just, it's unfortunate he's going to be wearing that Dallas star. Yeah, I think other than that, I was happy with the Eagles. We'll shelf that for now. We're going to break down. I'll break down the Eagles. You'll break down the Bills draft here in a little bit. So why don't we go to round 2? All right, winner and loser for round 2. Let's just take a look here. Give me 1 second. You got yours ready? Or you want me to go first on this one?
Something that jumps off the page for me. I guess I'm. Goodness gracious. Two winners, and unfortunately it's teams that I don't really love. We've got Nick, and I'm gonna slaughter this, but Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina going to the Seattle Seahawks. I think that's a slam dunk. I think people were talking about him being a round 1 guy. Yeah. He's long, athletic, and I think he's going to do he that was a steal at 35. Yeah. The other one is Donovan Ezeraku going to Dallas. I hate that he went to Dallas. Just a machine out of Boston College. Yes, size is something that people are a little concerned about, but he was just a sack machine. So I think those are two winners. And I'm purposefully not. I mean, I'm a Bills fan. I like the TJ Sanders pick as well. Also out of South Carolina, a stud defender. So
yeah. Which of these tight ends do you like the most? Both as let's say as an NFL prospect in the team, but then also for fantasy football. You got Mason Taylor, we've got Terrence Ferguson, and we've got Arroyo going to the Seahawks as well. Let me make sure I'm not missing. Yeah, so those 3 guys in the second round. I actually didn't watch the second round fully. I guess I didn't realize all 3 of those guys had went in the second round. So what are your thoughts on those 3? Do you have a favorite landing spot? We've talked about, we talked about Mason Taylor a little bit beforehand. We've talked about Arroyo quite a bit in the past as well. Any thoughts on those 3 tight ends going round 2?
Well, I feel bad for Mason Taylor. I feel like going to the Jets is a rough roll of the dice for him because I do actually think Mason Taylor is quite a stud at tight end. Elijah Arroyo going to Seattle. I'm spacing now. I feel dumb. Who does Seattle have behind center this upcoming year after getting rid of Geno?
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. I think that'll be. I like that pick, Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a different way here that you maybe didn't think I was going to go. Jack Beck.
Oh,
He played tight end and wide receiver at. Now it looks like he entered the draft under the wide receiver tag, but going to the Raiders, I like that because Jack Beck is a pretty dynamic player. So, what about you?
The one thing on Beck, I think it was 2021. He led the LSU wide receiver room in yards and catches. Like, that's wild.
Wow.
Considering how many good. I don't remember who all was in that room at that time, and he might have been like, a junior with 5 COVID years. But still, nonetheless, impressive. I do think he plays wide receiver at the NFL level, just because he's a little bit smaller compared to some of these tight ends. I actually like the Ferguson to LA. There's been a lot of news lately of McVay wanting, were they going to move up for a Tyler Warren or a Loveland in the first round? I think Ferguson, he's got that twitch, he's got the size to be a dominant NFL tight end, and so I think he's going to love playing in that system, and with those 2 receivers, he should feast. Let's see, my winner for round 2, Beck was on the Raiders, and Beck was on my radar before you mentioned that. I'm gonna go. Gosh, the trivia on Henderson is interesting, but that's messy with Ramondre. I like what you said. I don't know who my winner is. That's not very that well prepared. I guess my winner will be the Bears, which is probably not what you were expecting to hear. But I think Luther Burden, as we had just said on round 1 at pick 39, just feels like a steal. But then I'm also like, how are the Bears going to use him? They got DJ Moore. You took spacing on the name last year, top 10 receiver. So it's like, obviously take talented players. I think it's good value there, but interesting to see how Coach Johnson utilizes all these guys. Also, the Ravens, how we already talked about it, but Mike Green, he was a top 15 pick in some people's boards. I know there's some questionable stuff, character off the field, but getting a talented guy, he led college football in sacks at pick 59 is a little bit of the rich get richer. You like to see guys, when there's character, when there's things in the past. Like, I love him going to Baltimore, like a high character, a high culture, because we want people to succeed. We don't want people to end up in jail. But and not that every Las Vegas Raider goes to jail, but it's just a different when you play in Las Vegas, when you play in Los Angeles or Miami. There's just more. There's more pitfalls. There's more things to trip you up. And so I like a Mike Green where I don't even know all of the backstory on his past, but going to a football culture like Baltimore, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's going to be a 12-year, Pro Bowl caliber player at least. And so let's go with losers. Who do we got for a loser?
Real loser. Right? Do you have yours?
Say it again.
Do you have yours already?
Sorry. While we're getting our losers, I totally missed this one here. Tate Ratledge at 57 to the Lions feels like a slam dunk winner. Has there ever been a more Dan Campbell player than Tate Ratledge?
Yeah.
The look, the tenacity, what a slam dunk pick for the Lions there. We thought he was going to go like late first, early second. So to get him in almost the 3rd round feels like a great value as well. But go ahead, take us away on our loser.
Well, gosh, there's a lot of picks that I like on here too. I'm kind of so 2 things. Jaden Higgins, I think that's I like that move at 34, but I'm wondering, Luther Burden falling to 39 is surprising to me. I guess, team needs. You've got Nico Collins, you've got some speedsters out in Houston, and so having a 6'4" reliable receiver like Jaden Higgins just makes sense.
Yeah.
But I just thought, Luther Burden still being there, I wonder if I just would have gone that gone that route.
Yeah.
But Tyler Shuck, and I Googled how to say his name.
Is it
What?
Chuck?
It's Shuck. What is going on? Like, how does he he go 40th overall? Nothing against you, Mr. and Mrs. Shuck. Your son, it seems like a great college football player, and I mean he did well last year in Louisville. I'm just not seeing the draft capital
Yeah.
at pick number 40 for the New Orleans Saints. So I'm going that route.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of people buzzing on the combine video where he throws it into the dirt, kind of rolling to his left. But sometimes those clips don't tell the full story. You see a lot of people talking about as just a pure football thrower. He's got the ability to throw the ball. With most of these guys at any position, it's going to come down to between the ears and can they process, can they learn, can they apply things to the field that the coaches are teaching them. So definitely an interesting head scratcher on that one. My loser, I don't know if I have. And again, that's probably pleading the fifth. One other thought I had on Higgins. Did you see? I think it's in the third round here that we're about to get to. They took the is it Noel or Noel?
Mm-hmm.
That was bizarre to me to take two. So maybe I will take Jaden Higgins as a loser in this regard. The fit in the offense, which you kind of took it as a positive. To me, I'm like Nico and Tank Dell and now Higgins and Christian Kirk, and you took Noel. Like, I don't know. That's just interesting to draft that many. Maybe it's the confidence level that Tank Dell is going to stay healthy is limited. Christian Kirk, limited. Just an interesting thing. You don't see that often where two college receivers that play together getting drafted to the same team. So, where I think if he goes to a place where Higgins could be, hey, this is a clear opportunity to take over, wide receiver 1 or 2 role right away. Like you said, he's got the big body. He's got the ability to do so. So I think that would be a loser just because of the opportunity. It might take a little bit until we see it on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, yeah, the Shuck is the easy one. You kind of touched on Mason Taylor. Let's keep it moving. So let's go round 3.
Round 3.
All right, I'll pick my winner first on this one. Okay. And again, I just strongly dislike the Cowboys, so it's hard to say this, but I think the real winner was the internet. And did you see that video of Jerry Jones doing the Trump Trump dance? He was doing the Trump dance with after the Rebel pick, which is a solid pick. I think Rebel Jr. could have went much higher. So I think that's a solid pick. I'll take him as a winner. Which again, it's unfortunate to hear that, but I think he's 6'2", talented, fluid hips like Jerry Jones, and I think he's got a chance to be a good. He goes into that the cornerback room there and doesn't have to be. Diggs is going to take the number 1 receiver, so he can find a nice role as a cornerback too. So I think he's got a chance to really pop in that defense. Again, that pains me to say, but we got to call it like we see it sometimes. So, who do you have as a winner?
Yeah, yep. No, it is kind of unfortunate that the past couple rounds here, the winners. Some of the winners are the Dallas Cowboys. That always pains me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Savion Williams, the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah. Yes.
I love that pick. He was a stud at TCU, 6'4" and just super fast. I mean, he does, he has some drop issues. His route running might need a little bit more refinement to create separation, but like a little bit of refinement, and I think I actually think he's going to have a better career there than Matthew Golden, and so I like that. I like that pick a lot.
Yeah.
I think he was
No,
underutilized, honestly, at TCU. I don't think you put
Yeah.
him with a better quarterback, and he's going in the first round probably.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and they had Beck, they had some other like talented pass catchers in that offense. But yeah, the interesting thing I thought was like they didn't draft him to be a Josh Jacobs backup, but Jacobs is getting a little older. Does Savion, like, to me, Savion Williams is the comp is so easy, Cordero Patterson, that I'm like, this guy he's gonna find a way to stay on NFL teams because he can do so much. And so it's probably going to be like 2031, but go ahead and get him on your fantasy teams for that year because he's probably going to go nuts as a running back for one. No, I don't know. But I love that pick. And I agree with you. How about a guy named Upton Stout? What an excellent name. Shout out to Stout Beers. Also love Ty Felton to the Vikings. I think Addison has had some injury troubles. I think Felton is a great like possession type of receiver and can fit in nicely along Justin Jefferson. Let's go loser here for me. I'm sorry, Harold Fanning Jr. I really am. You're a loser because you went to the Browns. Like, such a talented player, and it's really unfortunate that you went to the Browns. So we'll leave it at that.
I agree. I really do hope that Harold Fannin Jr. has an incredible career after he leaves the Browns.
Yeah.
It's funny though because the Bowling Green. I mean, he's wearing the same colors, Bowling Green.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah.
So, I'm gonna go loser for me, and maybe that feels just kind of like a strong word, but I'm. It's more of a head scratcher to me.
Yeah.
The Isaac Tesla going to the Lions. At one point in our Campus2Canton League, I picked him up. He's out of the University of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Big-bodied wide receiver, 6'4", and he started in Division II and worked his way up. So obviously a hard worker. So maybe that's the thing. Dan Campbell's like, "Yo, you worked your way up. I like your character and your work ethic, and I want you in my locker room." But when you look at some of the wide receivers taken after him, it is a little bit more of a head scratcher because you did not necessarily see this explosive wide receiver at the University of Arkansas. Isaac Tesla out of the University of Arkansas at pick number 70 for the Detroit Lions. I'm a little more confused. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're a loser for doing that though, because I do appreciate the old school hard, work ethic. So
I definitely took a picture of my TV last night when he got drafted because I'm like, going to put that in my Campus2Canton notes of somebody that I'm going to, try and pick up here shortly. So, I was not like, I didn't recognize his name that well. And then again, in the third round, you're like, oh, what? We must have missed something on this guy. I think in one other winner, Caleb Johnson. I think he slots in. Again, it was a head scratcher for Steelers fans, I'm sure, of like, why did we just take a running back when we need a quarterback? But he slots into that Najee role. They're almost the same player. Like one cut, hit the hole, go over 6 foot, 200 pounds. I'm like, just go ahead and book it that he's probably going to run for 1,000 yards next year for the Steelers. So I did post on X last night that he gets to wear the same colors as college, and also he's going to be on a team that's going to punt a lot. So any other thoughts? I know we're going to wrap up here shortly.
I do.
Let's thoughts on your Bills. Final thoughts, and then overall thoughts on the Bills draft. How you feeling so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I cut you. I find myself cutting you off more often than not. So
please do.
I think one more thought about guys I feel sorry for here. Dylan Gabriel, we already touched on it at the beginning of the podcast, but I just imagine him sitting quietly in the corner of the locker room with all these other quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And it's just like wondering, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like just scrolling through Indeed.com, looking if there's another career that he could potentially step into.
Yeah.
That just seems really confusing to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how excited I am today if I'm Dylan Gabriel.
Oh, no.
So Max Hairston to the Bills. There was a first pick out of the University of Kentucky, cornerback. I like that. I like that pick. The Bills went defense heavy in the first. Actually, I'm not sure they've picked an offensive player to this point. They may have while this episode was being made, but they've gotten some edge rusher Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. They got a gentleman out of the University of South Carolina, like I said, a defensive tackle. And in the fourth round, they picked another defensive tackle. So they're out of the University of Kentucky. So they're just going heavy defense, and I do feel like that was their weak spot. Josh Allen can throw the ball to anyone. I think that was proven last year. And so just getting that defense up and healthy and get some young new talent in there, I'm pretty excited for the Bills next year. So what about you and the Eagles?
Yeah. Well, I think a very similar theme. Both teams have paid their quarterbacks. And so when you have a quarterback on that 55 plus pay scale, you have to rebuild, especially your defense through the draft. You're paying these guys because you think they can carry your offense. And so the Eagles are heavily invested financially on their offense. And so they have to keep rebuilding. So I think the Bills and the Eagles are in similar spots there. I'm thrilled. Honestly, I'm thrilled with our draft so far. Just pulling up the picks here. That is, Jahad Campbell. Love it. Love his versatility. He is a Zach Bond, like similar type of player. I do think they're going to use him as an edge rusher more than an off-ball linebacker. He had over 100, and I'm not seeing it here, but he had over 100 tackles last year. He could play off-ball linebacker, but I think it's 6'3", 230. 4.5 speed. I think to me, it's going to be in that Vic Fangio defense, rushing the quarterback and then sometimes dropping back in coverage. There was an impressive highlight of him dropping back to the goal line and making an awesome play in coverage. I'm fine if you want to send edge players into coverage, but they better know how to do it. And for too long, we've had guys dropping back into coverage, deer in the headlights, not knowing what they're doing. And so I like that with him, is it Mabuka? Did I just butcher his name? That was Jackson.
Out of Texas.
Yeah, Mabuka or Mukuba. Mbuka. These are just great fits in the Vic Fangio defense. And I think it's really smart move to draft players that fit. They obviously have to be talented. You can't just, hey, there's this guy in the 6th round we like, but we're going to take him in the 2nd because he really fits in the Fangio scheme. But these guys are good values, and they fit perfectly. I specifically the safety. We lost CJ GJ. I think he is borderline a clone of that type of player, and so put on a little bit of weight, and I think he's a slam dunk fit. So, all right. Anything before we preview our preview of Campus Canton? Any final thoughts for this episode? We will touch maybe on X. We'll post some things on rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. But for tonight, we just figured we'd cover the first 3 episodes.
Truthfully, no. I feel like I'm excited for our next episode where we'll preview the remainder of the draft. And we've got some good things coming up. So pretty excited.
Right on. Okay, so we would like to introduce, over the next 5 weeks, we are going to do a 5-part series on why you should play Campus2Canton football, fantasy football. And so we're going to call this the case for Campus2Canton. This is kind of why a big part of why we started this podcast. We started playing in a Campus2Canton league, and it was so much fun. We've been playing fantasy football for, a long time for both of us, but this was a new format and we really enjoyed it. And so we wanted to break down just kind of 5 reasons. We're going to do the what, why, when, where, and who of Campus2Canton type of leagues and get into some more of the details when playing in this format. So keep an eye out for that over the next couple of weeks. We're excited. And shoot us a DM if you are interested in being a part of that league. We are still currently looking for some more players. And so we'll do startup draft probably July or August. But keep an eye out for that and shoot us a message if you'd like to be a part. We'd certainly consider that. Another thing, we've really enjoyed doing the YouTube shorts over the past month and doing our Who Must draft. We're going to do something similar every day, every 2 days, something like that. We're going to release our top 15 quarterbacks for 2025 in the NFL. And so keep an eye out on YouTube and TikTok for those. We'll do a little top 15 countdown. Probably, both fantasy implications, obviously, because if you're going to have a good season, that typically translates to fantasy football. But yeah, this will be our top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. Will be coming out in the month of May. And other than that, thanks again for listening to this podcast. If you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. You can follow us on X at the TSP Community, same handle on YouTube and TikTok. You can follow Booker at TSP_Booker and myself at TSP_Kevin, as he's got it on the perfect little ticker there. So until next time.
Hey, everybody.